What would drive the second most powerful man in Nazi Germany to risk everything on a solo flight into enemy territory? Was it madness, mysticism, or a desperate gambit for peace? Today on the Arcane History Collection, we dive into one of World War II's strangest unsolved mysteries. The night Rudolf Hess, Hitler's own Deputy Führer, parachuted into Scotland on a self-styled mission of peace, only to vanish from history's main stage, leaving behind a trail of questions that still baffle us today. Now, Rudolf Hess wasn't just another Nazi official. He was Hitler's devoted deputy, at one time the third most powerful figure in all of the Third Reich. But by 1941, Hess's influence was waning, overshadowed by the more ruthless rivals like Martin Bormann, and check him out on the conspiracy theories for the Fourth Reich. And as a result, he was increasingly isolated, known for his eccentric beliefs in astrology, homeopathic remedies, and the occult. Some say he saw himself as a bridge between nations, a man of destiny guided by dreams and omens. He even carried an odd assortment on his flight, some 28 different medicines, homeopathic treatments, and dextrose tablets. Nothing, however, could have prepared the world for what Hess did next. On May 10th, 1941, as Europe held its breath, Hess slipped away from Germany under a veil of secrecy. He piloted a Messerschmitt Bf 110, flying solo across 1,000 miles of darkness. He navigated using landmarks, then charts and maps over the treacherous North Sea, hidden by clouds, dodging British air defences, guided, some believe, by his faith in fate. He was reportedly nervous. He'd never parachuted before. And by 10:30 p.m, low on fuel and perhaps hope, Hess was over southern Scotland. He climbed, turned the plane upside down, and struggled in the rushing air to release himself. Tumbling in freefall, he frantically fumbled for the parachute's ripcord, finally pulling it. He landed in a near village of Eaglesham, injuring his foot. His Messerschmitt crashed roughly 12 miles west of his intended location, Dungavel House, the estate of Duke of Hamilton. Discovered by a Scottish farmer, David McLean, beside the burning wreckage, Hess initially gave a false name, Captain Alfred Horn. McLean reportedly took the downed pilot to his nearby cottage, where his mother offered the unexpected Nazi a cup of tea. How British. But the ruse didn't last. The Home Guard was alerted, and the British quickly realized they had captured one of Hitler's innermost circle. Why had Hess come? He demanded to see the Duke of Hamilton, and Hess genuinely believed the German and British people shared sacred bonds of blood and race, and he was anguished by the war between these two Anglo-Saxon brothers. His confidant, Albrecht Haushofer, a geographer and academic of partial Jewish descent, whom Hess had personally shielded with a letter designating him an honorary Aryan, had suggested that some influential Britons, particularly the Duke, whom Haushofer knew from the '36 Berlin Olympics, might be open to peace. Hess's proposal, revealed to a bemused Duke the next morning, was to preserve both empires if Britain would only accept German dominance on the continent. As Hess later wrote in captivity, the British cannot continue the war without coming to terms with Germany. But me coming to England, the British government can now declare that they are able to have talks, convinced that the offer by the Führer is genuine. But Hess had fundamentally miscalculated. The Duke was no Nazi sympathizer. He was a loyal RAF commander and listened mainly out of protocol before immediately informing Churchill's government. The British, stunned and suspicious, treated Hess as a rogue prisoner, not a diplomatic envoy. Lord Simon, who interviewed Hess, confirmed Hess's insistence that Hitler knew nothing of the flight. Churchill himself, reportedly interrupted from watching a Marx Brothers film by the news, would later call Hess's flight a deed of lunatic benevolence. As the utter failure of his mission became starkly clear, Hess grew despondent, and on June 16th, so mentally shattered, he attempted suicide by hurling himself down a stone staircase, surviving with injuries. His behavior in captivity was marked by increasing paranoia and delusions. British doctors noted clear signs of mental distress. And back in Germany, Hitler was livid. Christa Schroeder, one of his secretaries, recounted Hitler's hours-long struggle to formulate a plausible public explanation, eventually settling on the narrative of a sudden mental breakdown. The Nazi regime immediately disavowed Hess. Goebbels' diary chillingly notes Hitler screaming that Hess deserved to be shot for treason. Hess was stripped of all titles, his name erased from public life. His adjutants, Pintsch and Lorenz, aware of his plans but silent, were arrested and dispatched to concentration camps, though both ultimately survived the war. The theories surrounding Hess's motives are as tangled as the man himself. Was Hitler secretly aware? The 2011 emergence of adjunct Karl-Heinz Pintsch's 28-page statement from Russian archives, claiming Hitler expected the flight as a deniable peace overture before the Soviet invasion, added fuel to this fire. However, most historians view these claims as unreliable and potentially products of Cold War intrigue and Soviet coercion during Pintsch's long captivity. Did British intelligence lure Hess? Soviet propaganda, allegedly informed by double agent Kim Philby, insisted that MI6 had dangled fake promises, perhaps through forged letters appearing to be the Duke of Hamilton, exploiting Hess's known eccentricities. While British intelligence had incepted an earlier genuine letter from Haushofer to Hamilton, declassified MI5 files suggest that the British were genuinely caught off guard by Hess's dramatic arrival. If a deeper British plot existed, the records yet are unsurprisingly silent. What is undeniable, however, is that by 1941, Hess's mind was a labyrinth. His waning influence, his deep immersion in astrology and mysticism. Fellow prisoner Albert Speer later said, Hess claimed the flight had been inspired in him by a dream and supernatural forces. All these things likely fueled his doomed quest. He was a man desperate to reclaim his standing, perhaps truly believing he could be the peacemaker. However, Hess spent the rest of the war in British custody, his peace mission a humiliating failure, and at the Nuremberg trials he alternated between apathy and bizarre claims of amnesia, but was judged sane enough to stand trial. Convicted of crimes against peace, he was sentenced to life in Berlin's Spandau prison. For 40 years he remained there, eventually becoming the prison's last and loneliest inmate. The stark contrast with other high-ranking Nazis who received lighter sentences or early release fed theories that powerful forces wanted Hess's silence permanently. In 1987, at the age of 93, Hess died in Spandau, officially by suicide, though his death sparked new conspiracy theories and his son alleging murder. To the very end, Rudolf Hess never fully or convincingly explained his motives. Rudolf Hess's flight remains one of history's great enigmas. Was it the desperate act of a sidelined fanatic, a misguided idealist's quest for peace, or a shadowy plot gone terribly awry? Did occult beliefs and mystical thinking propel his actions, or was he manipulated by forces' comprehension? What's certain is that Hess's story sits at the perilous crossroads of war, espionage, psychology, and the occult. A true unsettling tale from the very edge of history. What do you think drove Rudolf Hess to risk everything on this fateful flight? Was he a madman, a visionary, or a pawn in a larger game? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video and the deep dive today into history's shadows, please give the video a like, subscribe to the Arcane History channel, and hit that notification bell. Be sure to check out some of our playlists and other videos. I'm sure you're going to find something that's really interesting in here. And we're going to keep them coming. See you again soon, guys. Bye-bye.